The girl in the trash it was a cold, rainy night on New Earth Colony. Dark clouds covered the sky, and the streets were empty. Only one light was on a small garage at the edge of the colony. Inside, a man named Jack was fixing an old hoverbike. He lived alone, worked alone, and didn't talk much. Jack was 35 years old. His hands were rough from years of work, and his eyes had seen too much war. Now he just wanted peace. Machines didn't lie. People did dot as he worked. He suddenly heard a strange sound, like something falling or someone crying. He stopped his tools and listened. Again, the sound came soft, broken, almost like a whisper. Jack stepped outside, pulling his coat tighter. The rain hit his face like cold needles. He followed the sound to the back of his garage, near the garbage pile. That's when he saw her, a girl, maybe 15 or 16, lying in the trash. Her body was thin, covered in dirt and strange cuts. Her clothes were torn and glowing faintly. Her hair was silver blue, wet from the rain. Her eyes opened slowly, and they weren't human. They were glowing violet. She looked at Jack. Her lips moved, but the words were in another language. Then she fainted. Jack stood still. His mind screamed, "Leave her. This is not your problem." But his heart said something else. He sighed. "Damn it," he whispered, and gently lifted her in his arms. Inside, he laid her on his old couch. Her skin was cold, almost metallic in some parts. He checked her pulse. It was fast, but there. She was alive. He covered her with a blanket and started a small fire. After a while, she woke up. "Where?" she asked weakly. "You're safe," Jack said. "Can you tell me your name?" She blinked. "Name? I don't know." She touched her head. "I can't remember." Jack frowned. "Great," he muttered. "A memory loss alien girl. Just what I needed." She looked scared. Her hands were shaking. "I'm not going to hurt you," Jack said calmly. "You're safe here." "What do? You want me to call you?" She looked around, then pointed at a small star-shaped charm hanging near the window. "Lyra," she said softly. "Lyra it is." Jack nodded. Over the next few days, Lyra rested in Jack's garage. She learned quickly. She started understanding English faster than any normal human. She was curious about everything: tools, machines, food, and even Jack's old radio, but something about her wasn't right. One night, Jack saw her hand glowing while she slept. It pulsed like a heart. He quietly took a scan with his old medical device. The results shocked him. She wasn't fully human. In fact, more than 60% of her DNA was unknown. Alien. Jack didn't say anything. He didn't want to scare her, but he started watching her more closely. Then, something strange happened. Jack had locked the garage door before going to sleep, but in the morning he found it open. Nothing was stolen, but outside he saw strange footprints, not human. Not hers. He looked at the sky. A small dot moved slowly and quietly, a surveillance drone. Someone was watching them. That evening, Jack sat with Lyra. "You sure you don't remember anything? Where you came from? Who your family is?" he asked. Lyra shook her head. "I see." Flashes, a bright room, people shouting, fire, then falling. And pain. Jack leaned back. "So you were running from something?" She looked at him. "Am I bad?" Jack stared at her. "No, you're lost." "Not bad," she smiled. It was the first time he had seen her smile. "Thank you for saving me." Jack didn't reply. He wasn't good with emotions. Later that night, as Lyra slept, Jack went outside. "To get some air?" He lit a cigarette and looked at the sky. "Who the hell are you?" he whispered to himself. Suddenly he heard a soft beep. He looked up and saw it, the same drone from before. This time it stopped mid-air, scanned the house, and flew away fast. Jack crushed the cigarette. "Damn it. They know." He went back inside and looked at the sleeping girl. She seemed peaceful, but Jack knew this peace wouldn't last long. Narrator, final line. He thought he was just helping a lost child, but Jack didn't know that by bringing her home, he had just invited the future war to his doorstep. The next morning, the rain had stopped. The sky over New Earth Colony was clear, but Jack's mind wasn't. He hadn't slept all night. The image of the drone watching his house kept playing in his head. Inside the garage, Lyra was already awake. She sat on the floor, playing with old wires and tools. She had taken apart a radio and somehow, without ever being taught, she had fixed it. It wasn't just fixed. It was better. Jack stood by the door, arms crossed. That radio's been dead for 5 years. Lyra looked up with a proud smile. Not anymore. Over the next few weeks, Lyra changed everything. She cleaned the workshop. She fixed old machines Jack had given up on. She learned how to cook, kind of. She once tried to make pancakes using engine oil, but the biggest change wasn't outside. It was inside Jack. For years, Jack had lived in silence. Now the silence was gone. There was laughter, questions, music, even dancing. Jack wasn't used to joy. It made him nervous. Still, he let it happen. One afternoon, Lyra found an old photo of Jack. In it, he was wearing a soldier's uniform, standing beside another man. Who's this? She asked. Jack looked at the picture for a long time. That was my brother. He died in the Mars War. I'm sorry, Lyra said softly. Jack shrugged. War does that. Takes good people. Leaves bad ones behind. You're not bad, she said. Jack smiled a little. Not yet. But the peace didn't last long. One day, Jack came home with supplies. As he opened the door, he smelled burned metal. He ran inside. Lyra stood in the middle of the room, breathing hard. Her hands were glowing red hot. The small workbench behind her had melted into the floor. Lyra! Jack shouted. What did you do? I didn't mean to, she cried. I was just angry. The light came again, but it was stronger this time. Jack grabbed a fire blanket and wrapped her hands. It's okay. Calm down, it's okay. But it wasn't okay. She had powers. Real, dangerous powers. And she couldn't control them. That night, Jack stared at the melted tools and black floor. He remembered something he once heard in the war. Some aliens are made to destroy, not live. Was Lyra one of them? But then he heard her crying in the other room. He walked in and saw her curled up in a corner, whispering, I didn't want to hurt anyone. Please don't send me away. Jack sat beside her. I'm not sending you anywhere, he said. You're here. You're safe. We'll figure this out together. Lyra wiped her tears. Promise? Jack nodded. Promise. From that day, they started training. Every morning, Lyra practiced small things, lifting objects with her mind, controlling the glow in her hands, breathing to stay calm. Jack watched, amazed. She wasn't just strong. She was smart, focused, determined. She wanted to be good, and Jack wanted to believe in her, but someone else was watching. Too. A few miles away in a hidden lab, a man in a black coat watched a screen. Target, prototype L13 located, he said. Unknown male is hiding her. Behind him, a creature with metal skin and cold eyes stepped forward. I want her back, it growled. Before she remembers who she is. Back at the garage, Lyra had just repaired an old drone Jack had once shot down. She turned it on. The screen flickered. Suddenly, symbols appeared, glowing blue alien code. It wasn't a normal drone. It was a message. Jack, come see this, she said. Jack leaned in. The message decoded slowly, word by word. Do not trust them. You were built to obey. Wake up, Lyra. Lyra stepped back. What does it mean? Who are they? Who built me? Jack's face was pale. I don't know, kid, but someone out there knows exactly who you are, and they're coming. That night, Jack stood by Lyra's room. She was sleeping again, but her hands were glowing faintly. He whispered to himself, You're not a monster? You're just a kid who never got to be one. Then he locked the door, grabbed his old plasma gun, and set a new password on the garage security system. Narrator, final line. She had started as a stranger from the stars, but to Jack she was becoming something more, a student, a daughter. A reason to fight again? It started with the silence, not the kind of silence you get in the morning or in peaceful places. The silence felt heavy, like the world was holding its breath. Jack noticed it first. The birds near the colony had stopped singing. Even the wind outside his garage was still. No hover cars passed. The come line from town had gone quiet. Something was wrong. He stood outside the garage, scanning the empty road with his old binoculars. Nothing. but he couldn't shake the feeling. They were being watched. Inside, Lyra was focused on an old blueprint spread across the floor. She had started building a small machine, something like a scanner, but she didn't fully understand why. "I've seen this design in my dreams," she told Jack. "I think it can find others like me." Jack lit a cigarette and leaned against the wall. "Others like you? That's bad news." Lyra shook her head. "Or good. Maybe they can help." Jack didn't reply. He didn't want to tell her what he feared if there were others like Lyra. Maybe one of them was the reason she ended up in the trash. That night, Lyra's machine powered on for the first time. Beep, 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 beep. The screen blinked, then glitched. A symbol appeared, a spinning triangle, wrapped in a silver circle. Lyra's hands trembled. I know that symbol." Jack leaned closer. "What is it?" "It was on the wall where I was made." Before she could say more, the lights cut out. Total darkness. Then a sharp static sound came from the scanner, and a voice, low, robotic. "Com, L13, connection confirmed, location locked. Extraction begins in 72 hours. Jack grabbed his plasma gun. "What the hell does that mean?" Lyra whispered. "They found me." The next day, Jack and Lyra went into hiding. They packed supplies, destroyed the scanner, and left the garage behind. Jack had an old bunker deep in the forest, a place no drone could scan through the thick metal and roots. As they walked, Lyra looked at Jack. "I'm sorry," she said. "For what?" "For bringing danger to your home, for being what I am." Jack stopped walking. "You didn't ask to be made. You didn't choose this. None of this is your fault." She nodded, but her eyes were distant. "I can feel them now, watching, listening. One of them is close, and he's angry." Later in the bunker, Lyra had another vision. She screamed in her sleep. Jack ran in and held her shoulders. "What is it?" "What did you see?" Her eyes opened, glowing faintly. "There's another like me," she said. "But broken, twisted. He wants me back." "Why?" Jack asked. "Because we were made to work together, but I escaped. He didn't." Meanwhile, far away, in a black starship hidden above the colony, a dark figure stared at a monitor. He was tall, with gray skin and wires running down his spine. His eyes burned red. His name was Kron. "L13 has gone soft," he said. "She lives like a human, weak, dirty. She must be brought back," said the voice beside him. "No," Kron growled. "She must be reminded of what she really is." He turned to the window, watching Earth below. "I will bring her home myself." Back in the bunker, Lyra found something new, a symbol glowing faintly under her skin just above her shoulder. She showed Jack. He scanned it with a lens. Numbers appeared, coordinates, a countdown. Jack's face hardened. 3 days. "That's when they're coming. Can we run?" Lyra asked. "No," he said. "We fight." That night, Jack gave Lyra something special, an old bracelet from his brother. "He wore this into every battle," Jack said. "Always made it out alive, until the last one." Lyra held it gently. "I'll protect it, like you protect me." Jack didn't say anything, but something in his eyes changed. This wasn't just survival anymore. It was family. Narrator, final lines. In the shadows above, machines prepared for war. But deep below, in the silence of the earth, a girl who glowed like a star was ready to stand and fight. And beside her stood the man who once found her in the trash. The countdown had begun. Space was never silent for Lyra. Even when she was on Earth, she could still hear it. Not with her ears, but inside her mind, a humming, a vibration. Like distant voices calling her from somewhere far beyond the clouds. And tonight, they were louder than ever. Jack was asleep in the bunker. The fire crackled beside him. His hand still rested near his plasma gun. Lyra stood outside the metal shelter, looking up at the stars. Her silver-blue hair shimmered in the moonlight. She closed her eyes, and suddenly she remembered a bright room. Cold metal, a voice speaking in code. Subject L13, hybrid complete, memory lock engaged. Activate emotional core. Begin bonding cycle. Screams in the background. Fire, then running. Falling, silence. Lyra opened her eyes. Her heart raced. Her hands glowed without her trying. The truth was breaking through. She ran back inside. "Jack," she whispered. "Wake up." He sat up fast, gun ready. "What happened?" "I remember," she said. "I remember everything." They sat by the fire. Lyra's voice was calm but shaking. "They built me in a secret lab. Not aliens. Not humans? Both. Together." Jack blinked. "You mean a joint experiment?" She nodded. "They wanted a new kind of being. One that could survive in space, speak all languages, heal fast, and never age. Half machine, half organic, half human." Jack raised an eyebrow. "That's too many halves." Lyra smiled weakly. "Math was never my thing." She looked down at her hands. "There were many of us. Children, created in test pods. I was L13. Kron was L12. We were called the Project Star Song." Jack listened, silent. He knew this was more than science fiction. This was a weapon. "Program," Lyra continued. "Kron believed we were made to lead, to rise above humans." He enjoyed the training, the pain, but I didn't. She looked at Jack. Her voice cracked. "I ran. I stole a ship. I crashed here. And they threw me out? Like trash?" Jack clenched his jaw. "You were never trash, not to me." The fire flickered. Lyra stood up and took a deep breath. "There's more," she said. "They didn't just build me to survive." She walked over to the scanner she had rebuilt and placed her hand on it. Her palm glowed and new blueprints appeared inside her body. "What the hell?" Jack whispered. "I was built with a hidden key," she said. "A signal. A frequency locked in my blood. If activated, it can destroy every other hybrid like me." Jack stood up. "You're saying you're the backup plan?" She nodded. "If we turned against them." "I was the secret weapon." Jack paced the room. "So Kron doesn't just want you back. He wants to erase you. Or control me," Lyra said. "Use me to kill the others. He wants to be the only one left." Jack stared at her. "And what do you want?" Lyra looked out the window at the stars. "I want to choose. I want to live. Not as a weapon, not as a tool, just as me." Suddenly, the ground shook. Dot boom, dot boom, dot. Jack grabbed his gun. "What now?" Lyra closed her eyes. "He's here, Kron." From deep in the forest, a voice echoed not with sound, but in Lyra's mind. "I see you, L13. It's time to come home. Back." In the forest, trees bent under pressure. A shadow moved between them. Kron had landed. His eyes glowed red in the dark. He turned to his soldiers, half-human, half-machine hybrids like himself. "Find the girl, kill the human." In the bunker, Jack handed Lyra his brother's bracelet again. "Time to fight," he said. Lyra looked down. Her hands stopped glowing. She was calm now. "No," she said. "It's time to finish what they started on my terms." Narrator, final lines. The stars had finally spoken. The truth was out. She was not just a girl in the trash. She was a creation of war. Now ready to choose peace or power? And outside, death was coming with metal, skin and a broken heart. The real battle had just begun. The forest wasn't quiet anymore. The trees didn't move from the wind. They moved from something heavier, louder, closer. Jack could feel it through his boots, the slow vibration of machines crawling over the earth. He stepped outside the bunker. It was night again, but the sky was no longer black. It was red, above. The trees, a ship hovered low, silent, deadly, a dark triangle blocking the stars. Jack whispered to himself, "They're here." Inside, Lyra stood still. She had removed her jacket. Her arms were glowing with slow blue light. Her eyes weren't afraid. "Not anymore," Jack ran in. "We don't have much time." She looked calm. "I know." He handed her a small plasma knife. "You ever use one of these?" She took it, studied it for a second, then activated it with a short snap. It hummed in her hand. "Now I have," she said. Suddenly, boom. The bunker door exploded. Smoke and sparks flew in. Jack pushed Lyra behind him and raised his plasma gun. From the smoke, 3 figures stepped forward, metal soldiers, half human, half machine. Their faces were pale. Wires moved under their skin like snakes. Jack fired. The first one dropped. The other 2 charged. Jack took one down with a shot to the chest. But the third tackled him to the floor. Jack groaned, trying to push the machine off. It raised its blade, and then flash, a wave of white-blue light knocked it across the room. Lyra stood there, glowing brighter than ever. I said, "He's not. Yours to kill." They ran out the back exit of the bunker, into the woods. The ship above saw them. A red light from under the hull locked onto Lyra's body. Jack yelled, "Move!" They jumped just in time as a beam fired down, burning the earth. Where they had stood, behind them, trees caught fire. The forest became a battlefield. And then he arrived. Kron stepped down from the ship. His body was wrapped in black armor, fused into his skin, his eyes burning red and human. He didn't run. He walked like someone who knew he would win. L13, he said in a deep, echoing voice. "You look weak." Lyra stepped forward. "And you look like garbage someone forgot to throw away." Kron smiled coldly. "You used to follow orders." "What happened to you?" "I met someone," she said. "He taught me choice." Kron looked at Jack. "A human?" "Of course." "You let the weakest species infect your mind." He raised his hand. A pulse wave blasted toward them. Jack flew backward, hitting a tree, blood from his forehead. "Jack!" Lyra screamed. He gave a weak thumbs up. "Still ugly as hell," Kron laughed. "He will die, Lyra, just like the others." "No," she said, "not this time." She stepped forward, her body fully lit, not just glowing, now shining. Her hands became light. Her feet lifted inches off the ground. Symbols ran across her skin like ancient language. Kron's smile faded. "So, the weapon is awake," they charged. Power met power, fist met fist. Shockwaves exploded around them. Kron was strong, brutal. Every strike felt like thunder, but Lyra was faster, smarter, freer. She wasn't fighting like a machine anymore. She was fighting like a person. With emotion. With love, with purpose. Kron grabbed her by the throat. "You don't get to win." He growled. "You were made to obey?" She struggled, then whispered, "And you were made to fall." Her hand touched his chest. A burst of light shot through him. His armor cracked. Sparks flew. He dropped her and staggered back. She stood tall. "I'm not your weapon anymore?" Kron screamed and charged again, but this time Jack stepped in. Bloody, bruised, holding the plasma gun with shaking hands. "This is for scaring the hell out of my kid. Double quote, boom. Shot straight through Kron's head. The red eyes dimmed. He fell to the ground. Hard, and didn't move again. Silence returned. To the forest. Real silence. No machines. No drones, no buzzing in Lyra's head. Just wind. And breath. She walked over to Jack, helped him stand. "You okay?" she asked. He nodded. "You? I think I just killed my evil brother," she said. Jack coughed. "Family drama. Classic." They laughed. For the first time, it sounded real. Narrator, final lines. The battle was over, but the war was not. She had won her freedom, and nearly lost the one who gave it to her. And now, with her past burned behind her, Lyra would face the hardest truth of all. What happens after the fight ends? Days passed. The forest slowly healed from the battle. The flames were gone. The machines were silent. The trees stood tall again, but inside Jack's old bunker, there was still a storm. Not outside. Inside Lyra. Jack sat by the broken scanner, fixing what he could. His arm was wrapped in a bandage. His face had new scars. But he was alive. He was humming an old Earth tune. Something soft. Something old soldiers used to sing when they didn't know what tomorrow would bring. Behind him, Lyra stood quietly. She had been standing there for 10 minutes, watching him, holding something inside. "Jack?" she said softly. He turned, still, twisting a bolt. "Yeah? I need to tell you something." He looked up. Her voice was different, gentle, shaky, honest. He set the tool down. "What is it?" Lyra walked closer. The bracelet Jack had given her still hung on her wrist. It looked small now. She looked older than before. Not in age, but in presence. "And wait, I don't know how to say it," she said. "It's not logical. It's not data." Jack waited. Patient, silent. So she said it. "I think I'm in love with you." The room froze, the sound of the wind outside faded, even the fire seemed to go. Quiet. Jack blinked, once, twice, then he stood up. Lyra. He began. I know how it sounds, she said quickly. You raised me, you protected me, you gave me everything, but my feelings, they're real. I know what fake programming feels like. This isn't that? Lyra, Jack said again, slower. This time, but she kept going, you're the first person who looked at me like I was human, not a thing. You taught me how to eat, speak, laugh, cry. You made me someone. Jack's eyes shifted. He walked to the other side of the room. She followed. I don't expect you to feel the same. I needed you to know. Because I think the war might not be over. And if I vanish tomorrow, I don't want you wondering. Jack finally turned around. He looked at her. Not like a mechanic. Not like a soldier, but like a man who had just been handed a live grenade. He spoke softly. You're not a little girl anymore? I see that, and I know your feelings are real. You feel deeply, more than some full-grown humans ever do. He took a breath. But for me, I've always seen you as something else. Not a lover. Not a partner. He touched the bracelet on her wrist. I see you as the daughter I never had. Silence again. Lyra looked down. Her hands trembled, but not from fear. From heartbreak. I thought maybe I was different, she whispered. You are, Jack said. But some kinds of love don't lead to romance. Some are deeper, some are forever. He stepped closer. I'd die for you, Lyra, but not because I'm in love, because I care. Because you're my family, that's real too. She nodded. Slowly, okay. Then, finally, a small smile. Then let me be your daughter, if not your love. They sat by the fire. No more tools. No more weapons. Just two people sharing the silence. And healing in their own way. Later that night, as Jack slept, Lyra stared at the stars again. But this time, there was no storm in her heart. No confusion. Only clarity, and far above Earth's sky, another ship entered orbit, sleek, silent, watching, not Kron's ship. Something older. Something that had created her long before she ever opened her eyes. New message blinked in red. L13, return required, or termination code will be executed. Countdown, 48 hours. Narrator, final lines. Love had been confessed. Boundaries had been drawn, but peace doesn't last for creations like her. In the sky above, her makers were coming, not to forgive, but to erase what they could no longer control. The sky changed color that morning. Not red like fire. Not black like war. It was silver. Soft, strange, silent. Jack noticed it first. He stood outside the bunker, one hand resting on the handle of his gun, but not raising it. Not yet. They're here, he said. Behind him. Lyra stepped out. She didn't look afraid. She looked ready. Above them, the sky shimmered. A ship like glass and shadow slowly appeared, uncloaking above Earth's surface. This wasn't Kron's warship. It was older, bigger, cleaner, built not to fight but to control. A voice echoed in Lyra's mind. L13, your cycle is complete. Return for recalibration. She closed her eyes. No, this is not a request. You are property. You are ours. Lyra opened her eyes again, not glowing now. Just clear. I'm no one's property anymore. Jack placed a hand on her shoulder. You sure about this? I have to be, she said, and with that she lifted into the air, calmly, like a feather caught in thought, and flew toward the ship. Jack watched her disappear into the sky. He didn't try to stop her, but his hand never left the gun. Inside the ship, the air was too clean. The walls too white. Everything smelled like cold metal and order. Lyra stepped onto a glowing floor. No guards, no weapons. Only one figure, waiting. Not a machine, not a soldier, a woman. Pale skin, silver eyes, long coat. The maker. You returned, said the woman. Her voice was warm, like static wrapped in silk. Lyra said nothing. We gave you everything, knowledge, strength, perfection. I didn't ask for it. You were born for greatness, to lead. Lyra shook her head. I was born in a lab, and I chose something else. The maker stepped closer. You feel love for the human. You believe he made you more. He did, Lyra said. He taught me choice, emotion, music, stupid jokes. Terrible food. And for that, said the Maker, you would give up your destiny? I would give up your destiny, Lyra replied. So I can write my own, the lights flickered. Termination protocol initiated, the ship responded to her disobedience. Walls turned red, alarms began to pulse. The Maker stepped back. You disappoint me, Lyra smiled. That's the point? Her skin lit up with ancient blue symbols. Her hands glowed brighter than ever before. The code inside her, the one they hid, the one they feared, she unleashed it. A shockwave exploded through the ship. Circuits died. Lights burst. Systems crashed. The control floor beneath her cracked. The voice in her head screamed, "Contain the hybrid!" But it was too late. Lyra had rewritten her code. Not as L13 but as Lyra. She burst through the ship's hull like a comet, falling through the clouds, landing hard on the earth below. Jack ran to her side. You okay? She smiled weakly. Yeah, just burned my birth certificate. The ship above, flickering, failing, began to fade, and then, quietly, it disappeared into space. Gone. Later that night, by the fire, Jack sat cleaning his tools. Lyra sat beside him, legs crossed, staring at the stars. So, Jack said. What now? She looked up. I don't think I'd belong here. Not forever, Jack nodded. Yeah, I figured. I'm not just human, Jack, and I'm not just machine. I'm both, maybe neither. He leaned back. Well, you're definitely trouble. That part's clear. She laughed, then her face grew quiet. I need to find others like me. Not to fight them, to help them choose like I did? Jack didn't speak for a while. Then he reached into his pocket, pulled out the bracelet. He handed it to her. Take this, wherever you go. Lyra looked at it, then at him. Will I see you again? Jack smiled. If the galaxy's lucky, no. She punched him in the arm, then hugged him, tight, at sunrise. She stood on the edge of the hill, the wind blew through her hair, her eyes brightened. One last time, and then she flew, not to run, but to begin. Narrator, final lines. She was found. In the trash, she was raised like a daughter. She was feared as a weapon, but in the end, she was none of those things. She was something new, a spark between stars, not human, not alien. Just Lyra, as she had finally chosen her planet,